to another episode of GearHeads. So earlier today I did a service and an inspection on this thing, and then we also shook the front end down on this to take a look at all the suspension and steering components. Now if you missed those videos, go back and watch them. I think they're very helpful, and they show some important stuff to look for if you want to check out your car. Now today though, we're going to be doing a tune-up. So nowadays a tune-up's a little different. If you're not adjusting the carburetor, you're not setting points necessarily in the distributor, stuff like that on most newer cars. This does though have a cap and rotor, so we're going to be checking that out. And we're going to be, like I said, a little bit different on a modern car. Nowadays if you go to a shop and you ask for a tune-up, they're going to give you new spark plugs, new spark plug wires. They're going to change your air filter, which we already did when I did the other service. And they're going to clean your throttle body and maybe do an induction service if they have a machine to hook up to it. Which I don't, but I'm still going to clean out the throttle body along with the new spark plugs and wires. And I will pull that cap and rotor off to take a look, and if for some reason I need to, then I'll get a new one. Or I could try and clean it up, but hopefully not. Hopefully I'll be good with just the spark plugs and wires. Anyways, this is not a hard job to do. A tune-up's good to keep your motor running well, and this thing's actually running pretty good for how old it is. It's got 260,000 miles on it, and this thing still trucks along just fine. Doesn't get terrible gas mileage, but it's not great either. It's a Jeep, what are you gonna ask? But anyways, let's go ahead and get started, and I think I'll do the spark plugs and wires first, and I'll also pull that cap off. We'll do the throttle after. Let's do it. Okay, so on the 4-liter straight 6 Jeep motor, AMC motor, not Jeep, but the spark plug wires are going to be on the passenger side of the engine. Here's the cap down here where they're all tying into, and then you've got the ignition coil also down over in this area here. Which is the center one coming off of that going down there. So I'm gonna go ahead and start ripping these things off. Just either take a picture ahead of time, or you can go online and look up the order of which one goes where, or alternatively, something I like to do if you can on the car, just pull one wire and one plug and replace them one at a time, and then you can't crisscross them or make a mistake. And of course this motor's nice and hot because I just drove it all the way up the mountain. Man, these things have been on here a long time. They're probably pretty tight. Hopefully I can get them off without ripping the boot or ripping the inside part of the spark plug wire off onto the spark plug. But oh my, there we go. It's coming, it came. It's just harder to pull. Okay, so let me just pull that one off here, and that goes to that one on the distributor. Cool, so there's one wire. And then also if you do it one at a time, makes it nice and easy. You can just take that one over, match it up with your new set of spark plug wires that you have sitting hopefully on your bench or maybe on the ground if you have to, or something like that. And you can just match up the exact length and use that one to put right back. So let me pull that spark plug out though and see what it looks like. All right, the spark plug's right down here. Hopefully you can see it. If not, I'm sorry, but all right, cool. Wasn't too tight, that's good. Nobody over torqued them last time they put them in, or at least that one. Oh boy, look at that. Okay, so take a look at that right there. That spark plug is gone. I have no idea how long it's been, but the head here on the electrode right there is almost completely gone. It's got a very large gap. I haven't measured it, but it's a very large gap. I probably should measure it though. I'll get my tool just because I want to double check the new ones before I put them in and make sure that this gap is correct. Okay, so here's the old plug, and I just threw the gapper on this thing, and it is, what is that? That is 0.65. That is way too big, and it's because the electrode's all burned off and this thing's used. So there's number 6. Here's the new one that I got to replace it. It's just a Bosch Platinum plug. If you guys want to find some good deals on these, I'll throw some links in the description, and then you can order some plugs and wires, and you don't have to go to the store and get them, which makes it convenient, and it's a good way to save money like usual. So the new ones are supposed to be gapped to 0.35, which is 0.035 thousandths of an inch, and it looks like these ones are already at that. Brand new, so I'll check the rest of them just real quick before I throw them in, but also before I put it in, I want to make sure I put anti-seize on the threads here. Just want to make sure you get some anti-seize on the new threads before you put them in. You don't want these seizing in the head. All right, let's go ahead and put that back in. Okay. Right there feels about good. You don't want to go too tight with these, just get them snug. And once you feel like it's snug, maybe one more quarter turn. And I went to my pile of new plug wires, and the long end goes over the spark plug. Here we go. Oh, you know what, actually, it's a good idea to put some lube on these. I have dielectric grease that I use for this. I just put a little bit inside here just so that it doesn't stick. Then next time if you need to pull these off for some reason, they should slide off pretty easily without breaking or just giving you a rough fight. And I'll put a little bit on this side too before I throw it on the cap. There we go. And it slides under the heater hose here. There's a little cable holder that's located that mounts off the valve cover, which is convenient to hold on to it for you. There we go. And just pop that baby on. There's number one. All right, I'm gonna do the rest of them the same way. So I gotta get this thing done. All right, now that's snug, so I'll go almost a quarter turn, and it's still not too tight, so that's good. Let me find the matching wire for that one. All right, oh, and then this one in the middle here runs across underneath to the other side. So you can do this one of two ways. You can go in order of each spark plug on the block, or you can go in order of the wires around the distributor cap. I like to go in order of the spark plugs, so the next one I'm gonna pull is this guy right here. There we go. Okay, and this one runs to the other side too, so you pull that out and around and under and through. All right, there you go. I have the matching wire already. Let me pull the plug. Same as the rest of them. All right, just a tip, you don't have to do it this way. Sometimes I do it this way, sometimes I don't, but I was actually having a problem with the spark plugs sticking a little bit into the socket, not even into the boots that go over it for the lines. So sometimes if that's the case, it might be helpful just to actually put the dielectric grease on the back of the spark plug itself, then install it, and then when you throw the boot over it, there should still be enough on there to keep it lubed up the way you want. All right, and then the last one on here is the one that comes from the center of your distributor cap there. Whoop. And it's this real short one, and it just runs down to the ignition coil. And that's about it for the spark plugs. All right, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just try and pop this cap off real quick just to get a look at it and see if the contact points look okay. So the cap's just got two bolts holding it down, and you can either use, I don't know if that's a 1/4 inch or if it's a 5/16, and then, or you can just use a Phillips head screwdriver like I'm using right now. Just pop them loose, get them backed out all the way from where they're holding, and you should be able to just lift it off. There we go. All right, that came right off, no problem. Now, oh. It's a good time to check, I guess, if all your spark plug wires are on all the way, because that one slipped off a little easy. Let's just see if I can flip it upside down though, which I can. Okay, and you know what? I am starting to get some corrosion in here. Now, if you're getting corrosion in here and you're planning ahead of time, or you want to just check and plan ahead of time, you can just replace this. They're not expensive. It's not hard to do. But I think I'm in this, at least for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and clean these up. And I guess I'll check it again in a month or so and see if the carbon starts building back up again. If it does, if it starts doing it somewhat quickly, then I'll just replace them. Looking at the rotor here, it actually doesn't have any corrosion buildup on it. It's just on the points here in the distributor, not the points, but where each point where the spark plug wire goes through from there. Those, like I said, are getting some corrosion buildup, but all right, that's at least clean for now, decently. I'm gonna spray this baby out. You know what, I probably should replace this soon, but at least from watching this video, I feel like you'll know how to do it, but I don't have time to run to the parts store right now. So for the moment, I'll just clean it, and I'm sure I will come back and do this at some point soon, since I now know that it does need it. Now double check that your plug wires are still intact in the right spots, and then get the cap set down all the way. All right, cool, that's good for the ignition stuff, it looks like. Now let's go to the throttle body. All right, so that's it for now, at least for the ignition, all the ignition related stuff. Like I said, I probably should throw a new cap on there and rotor with it, but I'll do it later. For now, at least it's cleaned up a bit, and those spark plugs were real bad. Oh, let me show you one more thing real fast too with the spark plugs. Anytime I ever take spark plugs out of an engine, I always set them down on the bench in order that I took them out. So this is from the back, because I went from back to front. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it just lets you take a look at the spark plugs if you want to see if they got extra carbon buildup on one, or one of them looks like it's been steam cleaned, then maybe you've got a head gasket leak in that cylinder, something like that. But it's a good idea to know which one each came from, just so that you can inspect them, look for issues. Otherwise, now we're done with all the ignition related stuff. So the next step of the tune-up will be to go ahead and just pull off this intake pipe right here, and we're going to clean up the throttle body. This truck's got, or truck, SUV, Jeep, whatever, this one's got 260,000 miles on it. I got no clue when the last time that was cleaned. I also don't know when the spark plugs were done last either, but they obviously looked toasted. They were completely gone almost, so it's no wonder this thing has had a high idle, and it's had a little bit of a stumbling idle too. It never actually has driven poorly. It still makes good power. Climbing up hills, it never really hesitates unless you were just giving it a tiny bit of throttle, but if you put your foot in it, it was fine. Anyways, throttle body is another important part of this. When they get all gunked up, you would be amazed when you clean them how much cleaner and better the engine might actually run. You might not even notice that it's not running as well as it should, but then after you clean it, you realize, wow, it made a big difference. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and clean that right now. So this one's got these little plastic, I don't know if all XJs are the same, maybe you've got worm clamps or something, but this one's just got these push clamps, so you pretty much just push on them to release them. All right, so it's got these teeth, kind of like a Ziploc, but if you just go and stick a small flathead in here and pry up on it, you can pretty much open that thing all the way up. Look at that, see? Comes right off like that. I can leave it on the end though, it's not tight on there. And just pull that off of the air box. And then it's gonna be the same thing on the throttle body. Just pry up on this guy a little bit with a flathead, and it'll come loose. All right. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay, so here's the throttle body. You can definitely see there's a good amount of carbon buildup all the way around the edge there. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and clean that off, and you can get a toothbrush and some brake cleaner or carb cleaner and just scrub all the way around, and just use a regular toothbrush. Don't use a steel one, because you don't wanna actually scrape this up. If that's tougher than whatever the butterfly valve here is made of, or the rest of it here, you might actually create a problem. So just a normal toothbrush and some carb cleaner ought to do pretty well, and just scrub all that clean all the way around. You should be good. I'm gonna try and get the back of the throttle plate if I can too, but we'll see. Looks like the inside of this idle air control valve is also pretty gunked up, so hopefully the toothbrush is reaching that, but I at least sprayed in there. Alright, time to open her up. Scrub some more. Okay, that's pretty clean, about as clean as we're gonna get. So I'm gonna go ahead and just throw the intake tubing back on. There we go. There we go. And don't forget to tighten your clamps up. Just basically just push them, squeeze them up, and they'll be nice and snug. There we go. One more thing after cleaning your throttle body, a good idea when you're doing a tune-up is also to go ahead and pull off your gas cap and pour some fuel injector cleaner in your tank. It's a good idea to do that every once in a while as well. May as well do that every time you do a tune-up to the rest of the components up there. Keep your fuel injectors healthy and working hopefully properly. If they start really misbehaving though, you'll have to replace them. But I don't actually have any on me right now, but I did want to make sure I mentioned it in the video so you can plan ahead and you can have it and you can do it. Alright guys, that's it. That is how to do a tune-up on a, well, this is 97, but whatever Cherokee XJ, but the same applies to many, many other cars. So spark plugs and wires, distributor cap and rotor. I think we showed you all that pretty well. And now we've got the nice clean throttle body. And don't forget, if you didn't already, to check your air filter. That's another important part of the tune-up. If it's all clogged up, then your engine's still not going to be running as good as it potentially could be or should be. So just don't forget to check that, and also check anything else out under the hood that you think might be a concern while you're in here. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, drop a comment down in the description and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. And also take a look in our description if you want some links. I'm going to post up a link to a good set of spark plugs and wires. Then you don't have to go to the parts store. You can order them, have them to your door. You'll save money and it's more convenient. So anyways, I hope this answered all the questions you guys might have had. Thank you so much for watching. Check out our Instagram and our Facebook if you guys haven't yet. And as always, keep wrenching.